It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Matt Cutts from Google joins Jeff, Gina, and me to talk about the latest Google news, Google's quarterly results, what's going on with the shakeup at YouTube, the shakeup at Microsoft, and Google's settlement in the EU. Lots more, too. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 235, recorded February 5th, 2014, the $4,000 dongle. This Week in Google is brought to you by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll finally have all your financial life in one place and get a clear view of everything you own. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/twig. And by LegalZoom. Visit LegalZoom.com to save on your legal needs. You'll gain access to a network of legal plan attorneys for guidance, too. LegalZoom, it's not a law firm, but provides self-help services at your specific direction. Visit LegalZoom.com and use the offer code TWIG to get $10 off at checkout. And by 99 Designs, the world's largest graphic design marketplace. 99 Designs connects businesses seeking quality, affordable designs with a community of more than 270,000 graphic designers. Visit 99designs.com/twig to receive a free Power Pack upgrade valued at $99. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google, the show that covers Google, the Gurgleverse, Twitter, and more. Look at that. It's snowing in beautiful Brooklyn. Gina Trapani in her mom's basement.
That's beautiful New Jersey, actually.
That's New Jersey.
Yes.
Not so many trees grow in Brooklyn.
Not so many, just one.
I thought you lived in the botanical gardens. I didn't know. So that's Jeff. Okay, not Gina. Okay. So what's cool about this, I got to say, is that you get that thing that only happens after there's a snow and then a melt and then a refreeze, where you got ice.
Oh, it's so much fun. Yeah,
coating the branches
for an hour.
Yeah, I love that. Love that when that happens.
Oh, I hate you, California.
Jeff Jarvis for the City University of New York.
You're just so obnoxious.
No, it's pretty. It's really pretty. I love seeing all the Instagram pictures when I woke up this morning, a beautiful sunny day in Northern California, and I see all the Instagram pictures of ice, snow.
We should get video of me with a snowblower.
I talked to Mom this morning. She's in Providence. She said Grady, her nephew, lives around the corner. My nephew, her grandson, came over to shovel the walk this morning very early, and then he came back an hour later and shoveled it again. That's depressing. Hey, that's Matt Cutts laughing.
Hey there.
Matt and I are in California.
Good to see everybody.
Where do you get a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex decal? That is awesome.
You can get it from Amazon, you know?
It's on the internet. Amazing.
It was a Christmas present.
For you or your son?
Yeah.
No.
No son.
No son, so it had to be you.
Just me.
See, that's the best part about kids. You can get dinosaur decals on the wall and blame the kids.
Right, I'm just weird. But it used to be Hello Kitty, so I figured I'd
this is
upgrade
improvement. Much more macho. Also with us, Gina Trapani. She's in her mom's basement.
I am. I might as well just own it. It's the paneling. I thought the paneling would give it away.
I think we would have known. I hate to say it. The maple paneling, the tchotchke cabinet.
I'm gonna be a grown up and have my own place. So by next week, I'll be a new.
You're just confirming what Aaron Sorkin's always known, that bloggers live in their mother's basement. Sorkin's watching this right now going, I told you! Life hacker my ass.
PJs, Gina.
She hasn't figured out how to pay bills, let alone hack life. Anyway, nice to have you. Gina Trapani, founding editor of Life Hacker. And now at ThinkUp, which is a wonderful startup that analyzes all your Twitter and Facebook posts. Very nice. Very cool.
Indeed. Thank you. Nice.
How much is
Everyone
that?
needs this.
It's from Roommates. $18. $18,
that's well
Dinosaur
worth it.
peel and stick. How big is it, though?
It's pretty big.
It's like 4 feet.
36 inches?
36 inches,
Yeah.
3 feet. Wow.
It's pretty large.
Neato.
It turns out you can get all kinds of weird wall decals, so I'm trying to resist the temptation. But
there is a company that makes those for like sporting figures, so you can have a
Fat
giant
head or something like that?
fat heads.
Yeah, I knew it was a weird name.
Yeah. Well, you not only did you know the weird name, you remembered it.
I did. Well, I guess that worked then.
Yeah. So you can get a giant Clay Matthews or something on your wall, which sounds a little scary, frankly, coming at you. You can also get a princess. So
I want a giant Leo Laporte. I think that's the next twit.
Fathead has not contacted me, but I'd be willing to do a licensing deal.
What position? You have to be like holding a keyboard or I don't know, maybe a phone, maybe a touchscreen device.
Here's a giant Richard Sherman head. That's a good thing to put on your wall. Wow. They jump right on those trends, don't they?
Yeah.
Look at that. So, ladies and gentlemen, now let me ask you, because Matt, you work at Google. We should mention this. Matt Cutts is the guy who fights spam for us all, keeping spammy results out of our search.
Matt.
He's been in the news a little bit lately. Talk about that in a bit. But there's a couple of big Google stories today, including Google and the European Commission settling their 3-year ongoing investigation, antitrust investigation, putting that behind them. Do bells ring? Do the church bells ring on the Google campus when there's
Ding
Well,
dong, which is dead.
So I'll say in advance the standard "Don't fire me. I'm speaking from a personal perspective" disclaimer. But but a lot of different people helped out with this, and when it's 3 years long, you're always happy that you can find a good way to resolve it and have it be constructive. So
Google will not be fined, and there is no finding of discrimination against competition. FTC dropped their investigation in the U.S. a year ago. The FTC said, which must have made you feel good, Google was motivated more by innovation than by trying to stifle competition. I think actually that's true.
I think it's true.
The pledge to the European Commission for 5 years says that you can add new services, you can alter your search page as long as, this is always the weird thing, these stipulations, you grant 3 links to rival services next to your own.
I kind of love this. It's like Google as a genie. You rub its lamp, and it grants 3 wishes to you.
So if you have specialized search results like Google Shopping, which is really, Google Shopping is an ad, all those results are paid, then competitors can pay at least 3 euro cents to bid for a spot in a shaded box next to it. That is bizarre. Just bizarre.
When regulation, I'm going to Brussels to the EU next month to talk about government and the internet. And of course, you know what I'm going to say is just stay away. Goodbye.
It'll be a very short address.
It will be, yes.
Actually, if the bidding, is real bidding, Google could actually make some money. On this. I mean, it doesn't mean it starts at 4 cents, but it doesn't mean it ends at 4 cents.
No.
And I would imagine you'd want to be in that shaded box there. So anyway, good news. That's over. The other big story, which I think happened after our show last week. Yes, Lenovo buys Motorola.
No, we talked about it last week.
We did. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it was breaking as we
It happened as we
the
spoke.
show.
That's right. In fact, that's right. Yeah, we were doing it basically as breaking news. Okay. And then finally, there's a new head of YouTube.
Yeah. So it sounds like Salar and Susan Wojcicki are going to sort of trade roles a little bit, in that Susan is going to come over and be the head of YouTube, and Salar is going to presumably work on some new project that they'll reveal at some point in the future. So
this doesn't change Kinsel's role.
I don't believe so, and I think Salar has built up a great organization. They've done a fantastic job. If you think about it, several years ago people said, "Oh, YouTube has to be costing Google a ton of money." And now everybody realizes that it's a great outlet, it's a great opportunity. Sure, there's more we could do. I always hear the complaints that you mentioned about the spurious DMCA complaints, and I pass those on to people at YouTube.
Oh, thank you. I thought I thought it was thoroughly ignored on all of that.
No. I think it took a little while for me to like get to the threshold where I was like, okay, I need to go find someone to mention that about.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure, no,
wow.
But Salar, Susan, and even Sridhar, who is now taking, it sounds like he will be the sole person responsible for all of ads. They're all fantastic people. They're all data-driven, and they're all extremely capable.
That's good. Before
a bit redundant to Google, I think.
Well, there are some people with outsized personalities, but for the most part, we try to be polite.
Now we're gonna get some juice. That Larry Page guy, I tell you, he acts like CEO. Who's put him in charge?
We're gonna get Matt fired one way or the other.
No, we're not.
That's our goal, yeah.
So we don't know what Kamangar will do. The former head of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, was the head of ad sales at Google.
Well, yeah, it was a shared responsibility for ads between Susan Wojcicki and Sridhar. And so Sridhar is doing all of ads, and Susan is going to take over YouTube, is what it sounds like from the public reports. Okay.
She was senior vice president in charge of product management and engineering of advertising.
Of course, it was her garage that was the...
well, that's the greatest story, right? Her mom's garage. Was where Google started. In Menlo Park in 1998.
Mom is a magnificent journalism teacher at Palo Alto High.
Such a great story.
See, now I don't feel so bad about being in my mom's basement.
And Anne, her sister, met Sergey Brin as a result of that, sharing the garage. That's right. It's a time-honored position. Do you have a brother?
Two. I do.
Very interesting. We'll get some people over there right away to start a search company or something. Okay, so that's like this. Those are the big stories, and I think there's not much to say at this point.
Well, and speaking of search companies, it's interesting that Satya Nadella is now the CEO of Microsoft, and he started in Bing. He back in 2008, he was at search conferences like SMX and PubCon. And then he went on to the server group at Microsoft. Right. So
he ran R&D at Bing, and that's actually, in a way, that's a big part of, I think, why he was able to become CEO. Is they needed somebody who had experience in a broad range of areas, and there was some. He runs currently, or did just until Tuesday, run cloud and enterprise for Microsoft. But having had a little bit of techie experience as R&D, having had a little bit of consumer experience at Bing, I think made him the front runner, frankly.
I think it's a fascinating pick because, a lot of the old guard at Microsoft might be more thinking it through a client PC sort of framework. But Satya, he understands the cloud natively, and I'm very curious to see what Microsoft, does following that.
He has been very, in his 22 years at Microsoft, very available to people. Everybody's interviewed him, except me, but everybody's interviewed him, and has nothing but good things to say about him. So we will watch with interest. Do you think maybe that'll end the Scroogle thing, or that'll continue on?
It sounds like Mark Penn is still at Google.
Yeah, Mark Penn's running it.
Mark Penn, I saw him at Davos.
You did? Was he there?
He was there.
Yeah. Did you say
I wanted to go up, and I wanted to have a smart-ass thing to say, but I thought, no, it's not worth it.
Screwed! Screwed!
Well, if he manages to turn Microsoft into an internet company, that would be tremendous.
Well, so what he said at his accession speech, the first all-hands meeting, we talked about this on Windows Weekly if you want to get more excessive detail, is software. Microsoft,
Innovation.
Yeah. But that is an important maybe distinction between him and his successor, Steve Ballmer, because it was Ballmer who began this transition to a devices and services company. That doesn't sound like software. In fact, it sounds like hardware, software. And so he was at great pains to say, look, it all runs on software. And in fact, Paul Thurrott and I came up with a new, because if you go to the Microsoft webpage, it says software and services, devices and services. And Paul and I said, you really got to rename that to Microsoft makes the software that power the devices and services you use. And that's probably more of the angle he's going to take. And he is a techie. He's a programmer.
But you know what?
Devices and services. Yep.
It sounds like operating systems, though. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, that's
which isn't a bad thing.
But no, you know this. Think up software.
Yes. But it's web software. Like, that's different. Microsoft's whole thing has been, this isn't Windows Weekly, and I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to Microsoft for sure. But, Microsoft is still Windows and Office, right? And I know that there's a lot of cloud components to that, but that feels tacked on,
But that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. We are not. That's what devices and services, as their tagline says. We were Office. We were Windows. We are now devices and services. Even Windows and especially Office now is SaaS, software as a service.
You know what? I just realized recently that I don't use a single, except for this moment when I'm on Skype, thanks to you, I don't use a single bit of Microsoft software.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow.
And not because I'm anti-Microsoft or tried to stop using Microsoft or any of that. It's thanks to my Chromebook Pixel.
You don't need to. But what's interesting is you could use Microsoft Office on your Chromebook Pixel. The web versions of those run quite well on Chrome.
But I don't need to now because I'm on Drive.
Right. Right. And of course, Nadella ran the cloud services, so he's very familiar with cloud. I think this is part of the transition to the cloud. Frankly, this is but he's emphasizing.
What would you say Microsoft's key skill is these days?
There was a really interesting point whenever Satya wrote his letter about who he was that is posted on the website. He mentioned innovation, talent, all the right notes, but he also mentioned perseverance.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that Microsoft really shines at compared to a lot of like web-based companies that expect to just get a 10 times multiplier in 1 week and then you call it a day. Microsoft realizes they need to sometimes show up, talk to the customers, grind things out, support things for years. That's something they're really good at. So we'll see.
He says, it's an incredible honor for me to lead this company. He mentions Bill Gates is going to come back as a support. He says, while we've had great success, we're hungry to do more. Our industry does not respect tradition. It only respects innovation. This is a critical time for the industry and for Microsoft. Make no mistake, we are headed for greater places as technology evolves and we evolve with and ahead of it. But as we start a new phase of our journey together, let's consider tradition. Let's consider, persistence is one way to say it, I guess. He says this is a software-powered world. I think that's also the correct way to look at it. In fact, it may be a response a little bit to Microsoft's kind of failure in the hardware space. Surface has been a little bit of a flop. Certainly.
I still don't know what that means, though. What software do we need them to make?
Well, everything is software.
It sort of echoes. Okay. I mean, is it Andreessen who said software is eating the world? So it sort of echoes that in a slightly different way.
But they still have to get. Then, if software is everything, then saying your software is saying nothing. You have to get down to decide what kind of software. Where is your value?
That's true.
Yeah, right. And they have to make that shift from being, the desktop PC, the company that builds software for, locally on devices to being more web centric. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, that's a really big cultural shift. I think that companies that started after the web or started building for the web or in the cloud, to begin with, it's in your DNA in a certain way that I don't think that it necessarily is at Microsoft. And if he can make that shift for them, that would be huge. And I should say, Microsoft R&D does some amazing things. Photosynth. And I've had a chance to see a couple of really neat things, and I'd love to see them ship that stuff and get just more press for that stuff. You just don't hear about it as much as.
He very much acknowledges this. He says, this is also in his letter, in our early history, our mission was about the PC on every desk in every home, a goal we have mostly achieved in the developed world. Today, we're focused on a broader range of devices. As we look forward, we must zero in on what Microsoft can uniquely contribute to the world. We are the only ones who can harness the power of software and deliver it through devices and services that truly empower every individual and every organization. So I think he's clearly positioning himself. Where we really add value is in the software that goes through these devices and services.
So who is their primary competitor? Is it not Google now? Is it Apple? No. Is it?
Well, Apple's a very good example of a company that doesn't have the DNA to do cloud.
Is it Salesforce?
Doing a terrible job of it, right?
Is it Salesforce?
No, I don't know.
No. Well, who's their? Yeah, who are they? Who are they?
No, IBM.
Who do they go after? Well, yeah, maybe you're right.
IBM.
Yeah. Two old dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting because the competitor question is a good one to ask, but I really like Gina's question about whether they make the transition to a web company. And by web, it doesn't just mean devices like mobile or the cloud, which I do think they'll chase. I think there's going to be a really interesting fork in the road because web companies are brought up to believe in interoperability and open standards and federated data and all this sort of thing.
Right on.
Yes.
And I'll be very curious if Microsoft, which way they go on that fork, because if they make a decision that says, you know what, you're not allowed to run Chrome on our latest operating system, then that's kind of the old Microsoft still poking through.
You watch with interest. You nailed it. The bellwether will be, for instance, can Chrome ever be installed on RT? Or, and this is the one we're watching with interest right now, how long before Office, which is admittedly a great, important product for Microsoft, appears on iOS and Android?
And Skype on Chrome and so on. Yeah, I think your reference to IBM is right, because the reinvention that IBM did of itself around open source and around services and other things is probably a good roadmap for what Microsoft needs to do now.
Yeah, yeah, they're very much like it. Google had a good fourth quarter. We'll talk about the results, find out what it all means in just a little bit. There's also lots of news, including Jeff's new glasses.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about this. Jeff, do you have them? Oh, I want to have this conversation.
But first, let's deviate a little bit and talk about Personal Capital. This episode brought to you by Personal Capital. Today, I want to share with you a free and, I got to emphasize, secure tool called Personal Capital that solves two barriers to building your net worth. And let's face it, maybe you say, oh, that's not a goal of mine to build my net worth. Look, someday you're going to have to retire, and I wouldn't count on Social Security to keep you afloat. You got to build your net worth, at least so that you can enjoy your life in your older age. Trust me, I know. First barrier, of course, in doing this is hard to keep track of your life as you get older. Your life gets more complicated. You've got, mortgages, you've got loans, you've got credit cards, bank accounts. One hopes you've got investments, 401ks, stock investments, all on different sites, different usernames, different passwords. And then, of course, you have to pay somebody to manage all of that stuff, and you can really overpay on that and get kind of not such good advice either. Personal Capital solves this problem. All your accounts and assets are on a single screen on your computer, your phone, your tablet. They've got great free apps. Real-time, intuitive graphs makes it very easy for you to understand what you're looking at, and then drill down to find out, am I overpaying in fees? How can I reduce those fees? What are some investments that are appropriate for my goals? It's really great, and best of all, it's free. It's free. Go to personalcapital.com/twig. You'll get clarity and transparency so you can make better investment decisions and get great advice on making the most of your financial life. Personalcapital.com/twig. It's free and the smart way to grow your money. Try it today. Personalcapital.com/twig. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Google. All right, well, let's start with the glass. I did see that NYPD is going to be testing glass.
Yeah,
that is
cool.
Not a good thing, I don't think.
No, it's not, because they add the new opportunities. But it's is it that different from a dash cam? Our cops are on the street.
It's a dash cam all the time. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
I guess. Anyway, they're not using them. It's a trial run. Law enforcement officials said, we signed up, got a few pair of the Google glasses. We're trying them out, seeing if they have any value in investigations, mostly for, as you hypothesized, patrol purposes. Mm-hmm. We're looking at them, seeing how they work, says a New York City law official. Exactly like that.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
You got a problem with that?
So what's your problem, Mr. Jarvis?
Well, all right. So here they are. So I didn't mean to cause a kerfuffle, but Business Insider chose to write about my little Google Plus post and tweets last night, and because I had gone after Business Insider some time ago for dismissing glass offhand. So when I came out being critical of glass, see,
we were right.
So here's the box, right? So
so these are the prescription glasses.
These are the prescription frames. Now the problem is that I've had with glasses, I have to wear them over my glasses. They don't really work, so I really haven't been using them. So I feel very impractical. I'm $1,500 in.
Yeah.
So then I think finally I can use glass with prescription lens. Okay, fine. So here is the case. It's big enough to be a bomb.
You can put that in your back pocket, can't you?
Well, you've got to carry. You need.
That's your
glasses
to carry your
case.
Glasses.
Yeah. So then you get this. So then I open them up. Here they are. Right. Okay. So they're fine. So I'll take them off. Put them on. No, I'm blind. Okay. So find the glasses. But here's what gets.
Where's
me.
glass? I don't see glass.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Where's the glass?
I've got to send my first pair back to get the second pair to put on these because the first pair doesn't work on these, which is my first primary problem, right? So I'm at $1,500 for this, for something I really don't use, to be honest. Google's out another $1,500 because they're not making profit on this, so it's probably that much. In sending me another pair, thank you very much, but that's a lot of money. These cost $225. With my old screwed up eyes, my lenses cost upwards of $300. So all in, their money and my money, we're talking about a $3,500 investment.
Oh my God! You could have bought a Mac Pro for that.
Well, yeah, or two Chromebooks, and
2 Pixels.
2 Pixels, 10
Chromebooks, yeah,
10 Chromebooks, and 5 golden rings, and so that just started to really bother me. But what got me last night, I guess, besides the Merlot, was.
So you admit you were a little toasted when you wrote this.
Drunken glass tweets.
I confess. I talked to a nice guy from the Google team today named Chris Dale, and told him there was a little more low, and I didn't intend to cause this fit. But what gets me is, I don't know if you can see here, this.
What is that point at the end there?
It's this is where you put the glass thing, but it's a sharp-edged thing.
Oh.
So what hit me with the hubris, the design over functionality of this, is that I can't use. I'm just going to spend probably upwards of $600 on these glasses,
and you can't use them without glass. Yeah. Or you could poke your eye out.
Right. Yeah. That's what they meant when they said that it doesn't work unless the electronics are attached, right? So the arm isn't
ridiculous.
Complete.
Plus, they don't bend, right? They're titanium fine, and so they come with this huge fakakta case, so I need to carry a briefcase to carry my glasses.
Now, the case is because you're going to put your Google Glass in there as well, right?
Yeah, but still, they could have. What I said to them today was, the nice guy called me and he said, "I just want your feedback for the team." And I said, happy to give it for what it's worth. And I didn't mean to cause a huge kerfuffle, but my advice is get this friggin' thing to the market sooner than later. This is design over market sense. And the market is going to yell at you instead of just me yelling at you and say, no. And they got to talk to, they should have been talking to customers. It occurred to me that they should have been using Google Plus and the glass groups there to say, all you blind bats using Google Glass, what would you like the glasses to be? They didn't use their most powerful tool, which is this incredible community of explorers they put around it, and Google Plus to avoid what I think is a mistake. Danny Sullivan was rooting me on last night, so he agrees. And it just, at some point, I just got offended by the total cost of something that is still a novelty. I don't use very much. I still salute them for making it. I still say the glass is to whatever follows what the Newton is to the smartphone. This is an important advance. I know it's a beta. I know it's just a start. Yes, I get sick of all the first world problem jokes on Google Plus. But having said that, I don't know what to do now. So I'm going to go to my optician and see what the lowest price is I can get for lenses for me. But my lenses are really expensive because they got 5 levels and all kinds of stuff. And it's just really expensive.
Do you still want to, you started your post saying, I want out. Do you still want to?
I can't get out of glass. And so my point was, yes, I knew there was a 30-day return on the original glass. I almost returned, but I do that too often. Don't I, Twig fans? So I didn't, and I kept them. But now I'm going to go to Google, and Google's going to send me another. They're out another $1,500, and that actually kind of bothers me for something I don't use that much. And so then I'm out another $600 on top of it for the total of frames and lenses. And if I'm stuck with the glass, I might go ahead and get this. But then I have another problem, which is in my case, and this is unique to me. I want to use this in education,
right? But
glass is tied to my account. And so I can't really pass the glass, and will soon be tied to my screwed up prescription. so I can't really pass them around in school. So it becomes less and less useful to me and more kind of offensive. I enjoyed having the first. I enjoyed demonstrating them. I've never worn them on the streets of New York because I think I'd look like a dork, and they wouldn't work on top of my glasses, and I'd get hit by a car. So, you know, if I go ahead and fill these with lenses and get glass, you know, maybe it'll change my mind entirely. But I just think the glass ought to get in the marketplace and get to real consumers. And I'll probably be a lot happier about whatever that product is than this sandbox. End of spiel.
Well, I kind of with you. I didn't buy glass in the first place, even though obviously I could have. I paid for it and I gave them to Jason. Yeah, actually, that's right. I is worse than didn't buy them. I did buy them. I just didn't wear them.
Fool you?
The arm not bending, while I appreciate it's like clearly a difficult technical problem, it makes it really impractical. That case is crazy. But Jeff, those lenses are really nice. I mean, much nicer than the visor, you know, the original Explorer version visor, in my opinion, just from seeing you sort of hold them up. And you haven't gotten the electronics yet. So you haven't even gotten a chance to try to wear those, right? But you're going to. You need to swap in the new version, and then you need to get your lenses, you know the lenses that help you see.
These glasses are nice. If I could wear them with and without glass, I might actually wear them. That's part of my point, is that I don't go off and spend $600 on glasses just to wear occasionally when I'm going to be a geek. Yeah. I'm not going to wear glass all the time. You don't wear glass all the time.
Right? No, I don't. And I have to tell you that when I saw these new frames, I saw the bit that said these frames won't work unless glass is attached, and that was a little bit of a red flag. I was like, wait a second, you know, because look, if you're going to spend the money on your prescription lenses and the frames, then you should be able to. I mean, I would love it if you could snap the electronics on and off, particularly if I have someone who wore glasses,
or for that matter, to put a little, give me as an add-on a little plastic thing to cut this sharp thing so it doesn't cut into my skin, so that if I go to the effort of taking them off, I can still use these as $600 glasses.
Yeah,
but I can't do that.
That would be helpful. Just something, you know, a little plastic formed piece that would let you, you know, use it dual use. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a maker bot somewhere that can print one of those out for you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. That's definitely going to happen.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. So I hear where you're coming from, but I also kind of feel like you kind of knew what you were getting into. But I also want to hear your review once you get the whole setup on your head.
So you're telling me you're costing me another $700, Gina?
So wait, so you're
shaming me into spending another $700.
No. Wait, so wait, you paid for the frames and you paid for the electronics. So the other $700 are the lenses for you?
Well, the lenses this is $250 for the frame, $225 for the frames.
Oh, the frame doesn't include the lenses?
Of course not. Because I got to get my special lenses. I've got you know, trifocal.
Wow.
You know,
I didn't realize that. So the $250 is not for glasses plus lenses. It's just for the frames.
That's the cost of these frames, which these are very nice frames, right?
Yeah, frames are expensive, but that seems a little high.
My lenses cost, as a rule, upwards of $300.
Yeah.
And I can only use those lenses when geeking out with glass. That's the part that just made me say, oh, geez, really?
Yeah. I hear you.
So I didn't mean to cause a big fit. I really didn't.
No, but it's good. I think it was good for you. Were a little bit the canary in the coal mine. Like I think it's good to realize.
They were very good about asking that. You know, I gave them earnest advice and said, you know, get this sucker to market because the real market is going to tell you better than I will. I think this was a designer not being forced to deal with real customers. And Google, the point of the Explorer program is that Google has real customers, crazy first adopters. Nicer customers, but I think they could have done a better job of using
the original rumor was that they were going to go with Warby Parker to do it, and Warby Parker has equivalently nice glasses for like $90. So well,
that's true. It's a lot cheaper. My optician, you know, hates people going to Warby Parker.
Yeah,
because he makes profit on the frame.
Right. Oh yeah, where you go to 800 contact lenses, 800 contact, whatever it is, because no, they don't. So that's why their services are going up. Let me search on Warby for some titanium frames for you, and just see what they have because I think that they're like $100.
Really?
So yeah.
These are nice and light, and you know,
I would have expected Google to say to this guy, "Hey, look, you know, we're going to give you some profit, but you shouldn't charge more than cost on these, or You shouldn't make the usual absurd
titaniums
markup.
aren't cheap. I mean, these frames, these are the plasticky bending ones, which I like quite a bit. They're like the titanium ones I had. Very, very light, extremely light. These cost $250, $300.
Well, yeah, but you're overpaying because Luxottica has this monopoly.
Exactly.
Warby charges $100, including lenses.
No, including lenses? No, they don't give you lenses. They just sell the frames.
No. You send them your prescription, they put your lenses in. Yeah.
Really?
So I'm really feeling like you're paying Luxottica prices when you pay $250.
He's a nice guy. He's in the town. I support local business. I support Google.
Like, here are the Marlows. Okay, these are $145. It's copper, not titanium.
Oh,
and that includes prescription lenses with anti-reflecting coating. You get a nice box and wiper rag, too. I know.
Well, yeah. Google sent me. Okay, so I get a wiper rag, a glass wiper rag. Oh, that's worth $50 at least. Extra nose pads.
Oh, you don't get extra nose pads from Warby.
No, and somewhere
these are platinum, brushed platinum, $145.
That's cool.
That looks as good as titanium. And here's a nice selling point: it doesn't have a pointy eye poker on one of the side of the temple.
An eye poker.
Special eye poking unit.
Well, now I'm in trouble. I can't find. They sent a little screwdriver. And
you lost the screwdriver.
Oh no, here it is. Yeah, so I also got a
pentalobe.
A little tiny screwdriver.
Okay, so if you have trifocals, they tell me that you have to. Warby won't do those. So.
Well, I see exactly.
Yeah, I have progressive trifocals as well, or not.
Yeah,
not
age
even
is a terrible thing.
Infinite focals.
And Matt.
Yeah,
don't
get old.
Don't get old.
Fourth quarter results for Google and fiscal year results for 2013 coming up in just a bit. I'm being
Scottish. Yeah.
That's right. Because it's all about saving money. Google's going to do a stock split. Are you happy about that?
I don't mind that.
It doesn't mean anything, right? Because the value of your stock does not change one whit. You just have more shares for the same amount.
Is it a more shares or is it a different kind of shares stock split?
It is you get a dividend, which is technically a Class C share, which is basically the same as a regular share. So it's basically almost exactly like a 2-to-1 stock split. And Leo's exactly right. Mathematically it means nothing. It's just psychologically stocks tend to go up after a split, which is very weird. There's no,
because the price of a single share is lower. So I can buy one now.
Right.
Google stock being well over $1,000 for one share, I couldn't afford one.
That might be more of a factor, but
yeah.
If you need any evidence that stock markets
now, it is interesting that these are non-voting shares you'll be getting.
New shares are non-voting.
Yeah.
Right.
So you retain your single Class A share, and you get a second Class C share, which is non-voting. I guess that's not unusual. That means that they don't want to double your vote. So that makes sense.
Well, and there's a third part of the split, which is Sergey and Larry hold on to super voting shares.
They get Class B shares, which are really good.
Like 10 votes to 1
10x.
Or something.
Yep, 10 times more than the Class A shares. But you know what? That's great. I think founders should retain control of the company. You really don't want a Carl Icahn to come along, buy 1% of your stock, and suddenly change the company's direction.
They were very clear in the founders' letter that they were going to try crazy things, and if you don't like that, don't buy Google shares. Right. So it seems like read the disclaimer before you buy Google is the high order.
It also is important to you, Matt, because having this non-voting stock means they can give out more stock to employees without diluting Larry and Sergey.
Yeah.
So the part of this is about getting, and this is really the currency in Silicon Valley. It's not just the salary, it's how much stock am I going to get. So having more stock available to give employees is very important.
Dumb question. More shares, same price, that means that the company was valuation?
No. The price drops.
Okay.
The price, basically think of it, twice as many shares and the price drops in half.
Yeah. Basically. So if you have 100 shares worth $1,000, you will have 200 shares worth $500.
Gotcha.
And full disclosure, I own some Google stock.
Well, you're going to have twice as many shares.
Yeah.
But not twice the votes or twice the dollars.
We have the Twig vote.
That's right.
That means nothing.
Yeah.
That's true. The Twig vote is probably more important than the share vote. That's true.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Like I was running, I was jogging, and I hadn't listened to last week's This Week in Google, and so I was listening to it yesterday, and I don't remember exactly what the subject was. All I remember is at an hour and 39 minutes in, I have to go and find that podcast again and report a bug.
Oh my
right?
God! Wow.
Wow.
I think it was Leo Laporte. I think it was your Audi, the Google Earth.
Yeah, but that's not your fault.
Well, no, but it's a fair bug report. Like, hey, you sent us through a lake, or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it does use Google Earth, but I think Google Earth is not the fault here. That the Audi is saying to Google Earth, he is in Bodega Bay right now. What's that look like? And then all Google Earth does is say, well, if he's in Bodega Bay, he's going to see the continental shelf from here. It's the funniest thing to drive on the continental shelf, I got to tell you.
So basically, reports and bug reports via Twig.
Thank you.
Outside stuff. They carry a fair
From
amount
now
of weight.
on, we should have a little bell or something that we ring when it's for Matt Cutts' attention.
Well, I think Jeff's rant clearly got people's attention even before Twig started. Well, yeah, sorry. There was somebody in the chat room who was like, we should have a section called Jeff's Rant of the Day or something like that. So that was on my mind.
It's been done.
You're right.
It's been done. Totally right. We don't, by Jeff and others. We don't need no stinking rants. I think I have a picture of me in the bay. Let me just look through my Google Plus photos. I've been taking some of the more interesting pictures. Yeah, here I am driving down what looks like a typical California street, but according to Google Maps, I'm just off the coast of Sea Ranch.
But if you pulled out your phone...
Oh, the phone would be
Google Maps
fine.
Yeah, the phone would be fine. That's a car bug.
That's a bug in the car. By the way,
It's a GPS bug.
apparently not only did Matt Cutts truncate his run during this podcast, but somebody at Audi did, because I got a call from the dealer shortly thereafter saying, Audi America wants us to fix your car.
Wow, the Twig vote.
Yes.
I like it.
There's probably a little screw. You can use a little screwdriver to twist the GPS coordinates. So
It's actually, of course, there is a screw, and they fixed it once. I brought it in, and they said, "Oh yeah, we'll reset that," and they reset it, and it worked for a day. And then I sent them this picture saying, "You fixed it, sort of, sort of." But you know what's nice about having Google Earth in your car GPS? You get some vivid views of where you aren't. You know you're in trouble when it says, because it gives a credit on the Google Earth to where the satellite photos came from, when your credit is the United States Department of Agriculture. That's when you know, and literally it is. And then this one is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association and the U.S. Navy.
You know what would happen to me, Leo?
What?
I would get fear of that. When I go over, honest to God, my bridge problem? When I go over bridges and I have my phone with Waze on it and I see blue on the phone, I get nervous and I turn off the phone.
I'm on a bridge. I'm on a bridge.
Yeah. So on your car, I'd be driving on the street and I'd suddenly get sweaty palms.
I'm literally 4 miles out to sea. I don't think there's a bridge out here. You know what? Actually, though, this is cool because you turn the knob on it and you can zoom in. I've zoomed out to a 4-mile scale, but you can zoom in, and then you tap the knob. If you zoom into the 30 meters level and then you tap the knob, you get street view as you're driving down the street.
I can submarine view.
It's so weird to get street view of where you are.
See the fishes?
Well, I don't know what happens in the water, but you can see there. I'm actually getting the oceanic topographic map, courtesy of NOAA and the U.S. Navy. Yeah, we got a sub out there somewhere. It's fun. I love bug reports on the show. So we'll get to let's do the quarterly results right now. Consolidated revenues of, survey says, $16.86 billion for the quarter ending December 31st. That's up 17% year over year. Nice.
Though disappointed some folk.
Well, just don't listen to the stock market.
No.
Traffic acquisition costs. That is what? The cost of getting people to use Google, I guess. Or
yeah,
is
like
that's marketing.
Yeah. Or payouts to partners, for example. You know. Rev share.
I see. Okay, like Wikipedia or stuff like that.
24% of revenue, 3.31 billion.
Wow.
Or like AOL. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Acquisition costs.
AdSense is going. I saw AdSense is going down. It's getting weaker, which is probably a commentary on competitive things like programmatic buying and other things on websites out there. But that's a concern.
Net income was good, and using the GAAP method, $3.38 billion, up considerably from $2.89 billion a year to year.
And they just saved a $5 billion EU fine, so that's good.
Yes. So all in all, a good quarter for Google. Now, mobile would be one of the things to watch carefully, right? Mobile revenues. And this was one of the things that surprised me with Facebook's quarterly results, that mobile suddenly, they flipped it, was more important than desktop revenue. Google a little soft, I think, on mobile revenues still.
And Facebook has been surprising on mobile. I'm not sure exactly why.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Just looking through these numbers. So Apple's effective tax rate was 24%. Google's effective tax rate, 16%. So good job on the accountants there. That's thanks to the Irish reach around. Cash assets.
Sandwich.
No, the Dutch sandwich and the Irish, whatever. Floop. There is a term, I don't remember. I prefer reach around anyway. The cash holdings, $58.72 billion. A lot less than Apple, but not shabby. Not shabby. 47,756 full-time employees. Now, about almost 4,000 Motorola, so those will be disappearing. Although that might take a while, incidentally. That's got to be approved not only by U.S. regulators, but Chinese regulators for Lenovo. So mobile struggles continue, but revenue and profit up. Mobile's tough. It's a tough nut to crack. But you've got to crack it, because if you can't get mobile advertising to work, you don't have much future.
Well, and my contention has been that mobile is not as simple as just putting ads on here. The mobile strategy, and I've said this on the show many, many times, is that Google is in the signal industry, and that
absolutely
this generates signals for Google that Google uses across all kinds of parts of the relationship. So it's not directly attributable. The value of mobile to Google is not directly attributable to the banner ads sold. Yeah.
In fact, really, yeah, if you think Google is an advertising company, this is very important. But really, I think it's become clear Google is not an advertising company. It's a data company, data-driven, data collection. What can we do with data? What can data do for us? And so this is, yeah, they're getting the mobile signal. That's a valuable piece of information, even if you can't monetize it immediately. Nevertheless, you still have to figure out how to monetize mobile.
True, but I think we're also pretty well positioned. It's kind of funny, because if you go back 6 years ago, you know, the bet on Android was a pretty big bet, and not every company bet on mobile the way that Google did. Certainly Google did, and they've benefited. But I remember in the early days of Google, everybody thought cell phones and wireless would take off, and WAP and WML and all this sort of
WAP,
stuff.
yeah.
And so I remember when Google's mobile strategy was half of one engineer's time, right? You know, and it really took smartphones, and give Apple a lot of credit for opening up those new vistas, because, you know, a lot of companies just didn't see mobile come in at all. And I think it's interesting to see how many companies are now shifting to, okay, we have to go mobile first. But hopefully Google will adapt well to that.
Well, and Facebook with their new paper app really has shown that they've kind of found the way to success in mobile. Admittedly, paper has no ads yet, but it's really beautiful, and it really is frankly, a better Facebook experience than anywhere else, including the desktop. The issue is,
I don't have iOS. I just don't know. I've got to drag out an iPhone and play with it. Paper is you
want to see it?
A subset of Facebook, or it is a new skin to all of Facebook?
It's on my desk chat if you want to go get it. So it is a mobile app designed kind of as a skunkworks. And and Facebook brought in really good designers like Lauren Brichter, we've talked about before, Mike Mattis. And then what they said, in effect, was start from scratch to design a new app. Ostensibly, it's a news app. You know, it's more like a competitor to Flipboard. I'm running on an iPad, by the way, but it's not an iPad app. It's an iPhone app, but you can see it better on an iPad. So this is the interface. There's kind of two rows here. The top row, I could choose content. So I'm seeing my Facebook content here in the bottom row, but I can also go more like a newspaper to news headlines. I've chosen the categories. You could choose your categories. I use news, tech, scores, their sports category. So you see as I change cooking.
So compare this to rich Twitter. This is a lot richer.
Oh, it's gorgeous. So exposure is a good one because these are pictures, right? So down here, these are not my Facebook friends. These are major content players and images from them. Now, wait. I mean, look how gorgeous this is. It's still Facebook content. I can like it. I can comment it. I can reshare it on my timeline. It does this kind of beautiful kind of parallax thing with it. I can scroll down. There's a lot of scrolling involved. When I go back to are you playing with this, Gina, or do you have an iPhone?
I don't. I actually haven't had a chance to look at this, so I appreciate you doing the.
So this is my This would be my timeline on Facebook. These are all Facebook friends. So these are all things that would appear in the timeline. But even when they share something, it's kind of more beautiful than it would be on, like, for instance, Ryan Shroud of PC Perspective shared a picture, a layer of ice on the sidewalk at his office, and that's a big deal because he lives in Kentucky. Look how they move it around and stuff, and I mean, it's very tactile. I think they've done a great job with this. It still is Facebooky. If I pull down, I get all of the same things I get in the Facebook app, including actually, if I pull down and go to settings, I keep forgetting it's settings. That I have much of the same kind of collection of settings, including things like that the app did, like the code generator, which is kind of, this replaces the Facebook app, I think, in terms of full functionality.
Wow.
And I still have friends, and I have comments, and I have...
That's a fascinating thing to do, too. Now that I understand, thank you, Leo, is also using your service as an API.
Yeah, because now I have content in here. There's not Facebook content. And I can, I can't remember how to... Oh, there, that's how I scroll through it. They have a very good... I didn't pay attention to the tutorial, and I should have. When you first start off, it talks to you, shows you pop-ups, explains how to use it. And if I'd paid any attention, I wouldn't.
If it needs a tutorial, ...
It kind of does because it's pretty intuitive, but it is all swipey. There's no menus. There's no... this is the new thing, right? Swipe. Try it and try swiping, see what happens. Kind of a thing. But you know what? This is gorgeous. Facebook's never done a good mobile app. This is gorgeous. I'd love to be one of...
It's pretty. The panning and the big images reminds me a little bit of Facebook Home.
Yes, it's Facebook Home, but it doesn't take over the launcher, right? It's just an app.
Right, right.
It's just
appropriate.
I've never gotten into like the Flipboard magazine type like media apps personally. I know a lot of people really love them. I'm never like and this part of me is just being busy and being a new parent and all those things, but I'm never like I need something to read. Right. I always feel like I've got this like pile of things that I'm behind on reading, so I would go for like Instapaper before I would like launch something like that.
And this is the first time I can remember Facebook doing this. This supports Instapaper.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So in the settings, you can select a read later
service. Oh, nice. It's got Pocket, Pinboard, Safari
Instapaper.
reading list. Wow,
Yeah.
Safari reading list.
And then, you're on
an Instapaper.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So
you know what I use, Gina? I use Play Newsstand more than I would have thought.
Really? So
Yeah.
are you? So you're subscribed to?
I don't subscribe to
subscribed
anything. No, I don't pay for anything.
what do you use it for?
Oh, I read Verge. It's a way that I can quickly see Verge and Daily Beast and Engadget and Gizmodo without going to all their sites.
Right.
Well, and if I were The Verge and others, I would worry a little bit about that.
Same with Flipboard. Same exact issue with Flipboard, right? And what you have to do, I think, is we have to start building the business model in.
Right.
I've talked on the show before about Repost.us, how it makes articles embeddable like YouTube videos with the business model, brand, revenue, analytics, and links all built in. So I'm going to be in Mountain View. By the way, Matt, I'll say hello next Friday. And when I talk to Google Plus people, I constantly wish that we could embed entire articles into Google Plus with brand, revenue, analytics, and links attached, then publishers would look upon it as a friendly thing to be there because they could get, new audience and new advertising opportunities. And so I think that content has to travel with its business model. It has to travel with its credit right versus copyright. We have to rethink how that happens. And then you can enable things like Facebook Paper and Flipboard to be beneficial because the reader likes them and the publisher gets something out of it. But we haven't thought that far ahead. We keep on saying, no, you have to come to our site.
Yeah.
So this came up because you're talking about mobile revenues, and I think the big issue with mobile revenues isn't so much that people aren't clicking on the ads, or maybe it is, but the ad rates are going down. Both YouTube and mobile ads making less money through advertising because the rates have gone down. So that's a cause for concern. And I think that's saying, advertisers saying these don't work. So really the issue is coming up with ways to monetize mobile that work for advertisers. And they have to work for consumers. One of the reasons they don't work is because consumers don't like them. Let's take a break. When we come back, lots more. We get the change log from Gina Trapani. Gear up there. Go over to that Encyclopedia Britannica. Look up a good article for us.
There's no Google on Britannica.
What if you look in under G? You don't see Google, huh?
The internet is my encyclopedia.
The internet, yeah.
The web.
We were talking about this before the show. I have in my office a World Book encyclopedia from 1998. At least your Britannica was from an era when encyclopedias made sense.
I did book reports and school reports using these encyclopedia. Yeah. When I was like in 4th grade.
Yeah. I bought the leather-bound, gilt pages, all this beautiful World Book because I thought, oh, my kids will really cherish this throughout their high school years.
And now it's a really good monitor or like laptop stand?
Yeah, they put their stuff on it, yeah. Actually, the reason it's at my office is because I found it and my Oxford English Dictionary on the ground, on the floor in the garage, where they had been moved because nobody was ever looking at them. And
now, a dictionary is a different thing. I still am hanging on to my paper dictionary.
Oh, no, but you don't understand. It's the Oxford English Dictionary. It's 20 volumes. It's bigger. It's bigger than the World Book. It's huge. And they were all sitting on the garage floor. I was like, I'm coming, Weez Elizabeth. Anyway. Oh, my God. This episode of Twig brought to you by LegalZoom. LegalZoom, it's not a law firm. It provides self-help services at your specific direction. This year, maybe this is the year you're going to start your own business, become an entrepreneur. You need to know about LegalZoom.com. See, one of the things about starting your own business, you don't have any revenue yet, and yet you need to set it up on a business like grounds, right? So that's why instead of going to a white shoe attorney in a big tall building, you go to LegalZoom.com and you get that LLC for $99, or Chapter S or Chapter C corporation. It's very simple, a simple questionnaire. You walk through it. If questions come up, they have the LegalZoom legal plan, pre-negotiated flat rate lawyers in almost every state. They can give you some self-help services. Delaware or California, what are the pros and cons of incorporating in each state? For instance, that was the question I had. From wills to business formations, they do trademarks, powers of attorney, and more. You know, I mentioned this. I'm a big believer in having a healthcare power of attorney. They'll do that. You get your legal Zoom living will set up. So if you can't make decisions on your own, your healthcare agent can make them for you. This stuff is really important to your personal life, to your business life. And the thing is, it's not expensive. It's very affordable thanks to LegalZoom. I want you to visit LegalZoom to save on your legal needs. Wills for $69, LLCs $99 plus state filing fees. You can also get access to a network of legal plan attorneys for guidance at a very affordable rate. Don't put off those things you need to do. Make this the year that you go to LegalZoom.com and use your discount code TWIG, T-W-I-G. That'll save you $10 off at checkout. And it'll let them know you heard about it on This Week in Google. LegalZoom.com. Please, when you check out, use the offer code TWIG. Time, ladies and gentlemen, to play the horns. Because, my friends, it is, in fact, time for the change log.
The Google change log.
And here she is, Gina Changelog Trapani.
Google the Google Wallet app for Android and iOS got some updates this week. You can now scan in your loyalty cards, and Google will the Wallet app will push notifications to you, letting you know if you're nearby a store that you have a loyalty card stored in there. You just take a photo of your card with the device, and the loyalty program information will just auto-update in your Wallet app. And then if you walk by the CVS or whatever, you'll get a little push notification if you want that reminds you to, shop and earn rewards. Google Maps app also got an update this week for iOS. It's constantly looking for faster routes. So as you're driving, if traffic conditions change or something changes and there's a faster route when you go, where you're going, the Maps app will show you a little update and let you know, hey, here's a faster way to get here. You can see a screenshot of that right there.
That's nice.
There's a brand new Nexus 5 available. It is a very bright red.
Now, is it product red or is it just red?
It's red, bright red. It's extremely red.
It's
actually so mad.
The name is bright red. Yeah.
The name is bright red. Yes. It is entirely red back and a black front, but the front ear speaker has a little red. So you've got kind of a little red dot on the front. The specs are exactly the same as the black and white models. The pricing is the same too. It's $349 for 16 gig and $399 for 32 gig, and it's in the Play Store right now, shipping 1 to 2 business days. I gotta tell you, that's a really good looking phone. I kind of paused. It's a little too crazy for me. Like, I don't want to, attract thieves.
It says, "Here I am. Steal me.
Steal me." Yeah, exactly. It's steal me. I'm
just so, if it's true that they're phasing out Nexus, I'm going to be so upset because I do love my Nexus things. Even if I have complaints,
I really believe it's true.
I love my Nexus.
I believe it's true. Maybe.
So, Leo, what makes you think that's true? Where are you?
Here's my thinking. I have a big elaborate story. You might imagine, and we'll get back to the changelog in a second.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
No problem. No, I want to hear the elaborate story.
A big elaborate conspiracy story. So Google does a little thinking. They bought Motorola. And by the way, I'm sad about that because I love Moto X. That's the phone I carry, and I just got wood, and I love it.
Look at
And by the way, this was less than a Nexus. 32 gigs for $350 because they had that sale on Monday, the day before they announced they're selling it. Okay, but it's going to take a while. And I don't know. I'm sure Lenovo. I think Lenovo's a good company, and I'm sure that they will see the value in this. In fact,
just take it back to put the Chinese
the spyware in it. That's okay.
Take out the NSA spyware and put in the Chinese.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind. Believe me, my life, nothing to follow here. It's keep moving. But what I do hope is that Lenovo will put a higher res screen in and so forth. And I believe it when Larry Page said, look, we couldn't go all in on phones, and mobile's one of those areas you got to go all in on. But here's what I really think between the lines what he's saying is we shouldn't be selling phones. This is a channel conflict because we make money not on the phones, clearly not on Motorola phones. We make money on Android. We want people to use Android. We want people to use Google apps. And we don't care if we make the phone or not. So why are we pissing off Samsung chiefly, but every other Android handset manufacturer, pushing them to create their own operating systems like Tizen, or to hide the Android operating system and to take Google apps off like Amazon? It should be friendly, not a competition. So by selling handsets, we're getting in their cheese. Let's get out of their way. Let's let Lenovo sell handsets. It's nice because it brings another manufacturer with a lot of clout, a lot of class into the United States and Western Europe, where Lenovo isn't but wants to be. It's good for Android. And interesting, I don't know if it's a coincidence, at the same time they announced a side deal with Samsung, A, to stop suing each other, but B, for Samsung to stop crapping up its versions of Android, to not only put less crapware on there, but to make sure the crapware is uninstallable so end users don't have to live with it. This also has something to do with the fact that the South Korean government passed a law to the same effect. But I think they made the agreement with Google as well, and I think that's Samsung saying to Google, okay, you're getting out of our business. You're not going to compete with us. That's nice. We can work something out. And I think part of the deal was, and we won't make Nexus phones or tablets anymore either. Now, they never really made them. The Nexus 5 is made by LG, but it's to Google's specification. And it's sold on Google's store. So what they said is, no, hey, we don't need to make Nexus phones. We'll do Google Play Editions. You want to make Galaxy S4 Play Edition, Galaxy S5 Play Edition, Galaxy Note 3 Play Edition, HTC One Play Edition. a Moto X Play Edition, whatever. Great, we'll sell it, but it's your phone, and you make the profit. All of that is Google's way of, I think, saying, well, first of all, I think probably buying Motorola, they knew this going in. This was all a very cagey chess move by Larry Page to get these concessions out of these companies, to get the patents, which notice they kept. And they were able to sell off enough of it to, I don't think they even lost any money on the whole thing because they sold off the set-top box division and everything. So I think this was actually very cagey 19-month play.
And there's one further conspiratorial note here, which as a consumer disturbs me. Google was also showing what a phone could be and showing what a price could be.
Right.
And we're losing that non-market influence of Google.
No. So Microsoft tried to do the same thing, by the way. We were talking about this on Windows Weekly with a signature PC. They were getting pissed off that HP and everybody else was crapping up Windows. So Microsoft had this initiative called...
It's a little hard to do, but go ahead.
There's aesthetic judgment. But believe me, you could make Windows worse by putting trialware on of crappy antivirus software, things like that. So they created these signature PCs that were crapware free, and none of the partners made them. And that's why Microsoft, by the way, did Surface. I'm convinced they finally said, look, we've got to make a version of Windows that's the way it should be. And I'm convinced that's why Google did Nexus. But I think that Google's declaring victory. They're saying, first of all, they got Samsung to offer. Everybody's offering Google Play editions. They sell well. Huh? Except Verizon. And I think they can declare victory. And I think that they always have that threat that they could come back. I mean, this doesn't say we'll never do it again. I think they've demonstrated effectively to Samsung, HTC, LG, and others that consumers want the pure Google experience. You're better off if you don't junk it up. You know, the rumors we're hearing now about the Galaxy S5, no more eyesight tracking. They're getting rid of features.
Which, for the first time, make me interested in a Samsung phone.
Yeah.
Well, I do agree that, you know, with the Motorola deal, there's a lot of nice compliments as far as what Lenovo brings to the table, and it, you know, I'm not privy to those sorts of discussions by a long shot, so I have no inside knowledge whatsoever. But it does feel like the Nexus line has always served as a really good way to demonstrate a vision and a best of breed. Whether you know, even down to like the Chromebook Pixel, like. No, not everybody wants it or is going to buy it, but you can really see just what's possible. And some people, Jeff and me, we love Pixels and we use them, and then some people are like, okay, I'm going to choose for the price.
But remember, Larry was very clear. We're not getting out of hardware. We still got the Nest, we still got Glass, we still got Pixels.
And Nest is indeed now in charge of the hardware division.
Where we're getting out of is one category, phones, and they're smart too because they never made any money on phones. They did phones for that exact reason. I agree, Matt, to say here's what it could be, but you don't want to do that to the loss of Android entirely. And they were about to lose Android.
Sure. Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but it is the case that it's true with Motorola. You had to hold them at enough of an arm's length to reassure everyone else that Motorola wasn't getting special treatment, which in some sense was almost not fair to Motorola.
Right.
So. But I still, you know, whether you call it Nexus or not, I have no idea what will happen. But it feels like Google will still want to demonstrate that best of breed and that vision of what's possible.
Maybe they will do that as long as they can get. And maybe they have side agreements, unpublicized side agreements with all the manufacturers that we will offer a Google Play edition. Because if you can get a Galaxy S4 or as Gina has an HTC One Google Play edition, that demonstrates it, and it lets the hardware manufacturers show their best stuff. But
you don't get the reference. You don't get a reference device for developers, particularly with new sensors, right? So like if there are new sensors that Android, you know, supports, or new Android features that require hardware complements, right? Like Google
like the Moto X.
Wants to. Google still wants to release devices that they can develop in parallel with the Android, and launch a new Android version on. I mean, that's kind of my concern and my thing. Look, did the Nexus devices ever really sell? I mean, they weren't about making money. It wasn't about trying to make the best phone, right? It was a marketing thing for developers and super nerds.
But here's the risk. Here's the risk. You got Samsung, which makes 80% of all Android devices, doing a developers conference, doing Tizen. I really think that Samsung was saying, you're going to lose us. We're going to skin Android. We're going to take off Google apps. and they're already starting to move Google apps off in favor of their own. And I really think that Google was afraid of that. Android is much more important to their long-term strategy than Nexus.
Sure.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I'll just put my vote in since I have no knowledge and necessarily no power in this. I'm just like, if Sundar or whoever is listening to this podcast, I vote we keep Nexus around. You know, but,
Yay!
Well, we'll find out. It is just a rumor.
That's just my vote.
Twig vote behind that, Mr.
It is just a rumor, and I don't think they'll drop the brand name. I just think they will. I think it makes sense for them to stop making Nexus phones, do Google Play Edition. You know, and it doesn't have to be permanent.
Hopefully some Googler just cut off his or her run and is going to talk to the right person to file that bug.
I think it would make sense for Google, as long as the other OEMs play nice, to say, okay, we don't want to hurt you guys. This is your business. We don't make money on phones. We always have the Nexus hammer behind our back, but we don't have to use it.
I love Gina's point about a reference device that especially includes like with the Moto X, you have a complement of other chips that show it's not just about the software, and that's kind of, you know, vision only gets demonstrated if you've got that opportunity. So who knows what'll happen, but I hope
it does make sense.
And Google has collaborated with other manufacturers. I mean, all the Nexus devices are from other manufacturers. Right. They're not developed in-house, right? Like the Moto X was the only Google, right? I mean,
I would guess that the Nexus 5, given its differences from the LG G2, is somewhat to Google's specification.
Mm-hmm.
Not made by Google, but somewhat to their specification. I do think you make an excellent point, Gina, that if you wanted to add hardware capabilities to Android, you'd need a platform, a reference platform. So maybe Google continues to sell Google Play Edition and Google Developer Edition, and maybe just doesn't, I don't know.
And maybe the Play Edition or the Developer Edition essentially becomes the Nexus. I really don't know, but you know, it seems like that kind of cooperation between Google and hardware manufacturers is really useful to show people a path forward.
And I don't disagree at all. I think Google wants to go to great pains to demonstrate to Samsung, particularly, we're not competing with you. We're partners.
Sure. Yep.
That's my only thinking. But you know what? Your vote carries a lot more weight than mine, Matt Cutts.
I wouldn't say that.
I would. But I think that's Microsoft seeing that right now with Surface and with Windows Phone and buying Nokia. Nobody else now that Microsoft owns Nokia, nobody makes Windows phones but Microsoft. Nobody makes Windows RT but Microsoft.
Wow.
And that's the risk you run of making hardware to compete with your channel.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think Google looked at that and goes, we don't want to get in that situation. We don't want to be the only ones making Android phones. I love Nexus phones, but you know what? I love the Moto X even better because it was like a Nexus phone with some really cool additional hardware features.
Yeah, I hope they fold that into the main branch of Android. Yeah.
If you look at what Lenovo did with ThinkPad, I think what'll happen is Lenovo will build a 1080p screen around the same platform. This M7, you know, Google kept the R&D, the Asha and all of that. They kept. So I don't know where the M7 chip came from, whether it was a Google or a Motorola thing. That's the additional hardware that lets it sit and listen all the time without depleting battery and shows you the active notifications and all of that stuff. Yeah, Google needs to keep doing that. Or somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway, back to the changelog.
Back to the changelog.
Sorry, Gina.
Not M7, X8. So you're right, X8. Sorry. Go ahead.
So back to changelog. 2 new Chrome features launched. First, a feature that warns users when their browser has been hijacked. So the Chrome team says that settings hijacking is one of their number one user complaint, and that's when malware like screensavers or free games changes the user's browser settings without their knowledge to do bad stuff like inject ads. So Google engineers added a new feature to Chrome, and I believe this is just on Windows, that automatically warns users when browser settings have been altered by malware. So if it gets triggered, there's just a pop-up shows up. And it reads something like, Chrome detected that your browser settings may have been changed without your knowledge. Would you like to set them back to their original defaults? And this new feature is designed to kind of complement that feature that we talked about a couple episodes back, where you can reset Chrome to kind of factory settings, brand new original defaults if it gets mucked up, if you'd added a bunch of extensions, or if you've changed a bunch of settings. So yeah, nice new feature. Hopefully this will reduce the Chrome team's user customer service duties. And I believe, like I said, that this is just on Windows. And Google Now notifications are now in the Chrome beta. So I think a couple episodes ago, I talked about how it was in Chrome Canary. It's been graduated to the Chrome beta, and this is for Mac, Windows, and Chromebook computers. I was really, really excited about this. I enabled this instantaneously. I was running stable Chrome and Canary Chrome, so I ditched them both, and now I'm just in the beta, which I think is a nice.
So how do I turn it on? I'm in beta. What do I do?
So if you go to Chrome //flags, there, enable Google Now. There's a setting to enable Google Now. You change the setting to enabled. You relaunch your browser, and then you'll see a little welcome to Google Now. You're gonna get notification cards here. Okay. So Google Now is awesome.
Careful, these experiments may bite. Okay, change command. Enable Canvas 2-day. There's too much stuff in here.
There's a lot of experiments. Yeah.
There's a lot of experiments. Yeah. You have to know what to search for. Just do a search.
Every day.
Search for Now. Google Now. There you go.
Yeah, you see, that's the way.
Yeah, enable Google Now. Enabled. Okay. Relaunch.
And then restart. Yeah, relaunch.
Matt must laugh when he sees all this. All right, he is. That's
Matt
him.
Probably had this for ages.
He's so far beyond that. He doesn't have Google Now. He has Google Tomorrow.
Yeah. What am I doing tomorrow? Now, where does this show up?
Does it? So you're on a Mac. It should have shown up a little welcome card. If not, there's a little bell, a menu bar. You see the little bell?
A little bell in my menu bar.
Yeah. And it's Chrome notifications.
Yeah. Google Now.
Does you see anything about Google Now? Yeah. It's telling me right now. It's 35 and overcast in Brooklyn.
Oh, these are now. That's now. This is now.
That's now.
Oh,
now.
So it added a menu. Even when Chrome's not launched, will that be there? That's interesting. And these are my Now things.
Those are Now things. I don't believe it'll be there if Chrome isn't. I believe that's a Chrome notifications bell. And
then these are all the things that I can have. Oh.
Yeah, that's non-Now related. Those things are just
notifications.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's extensions that you've granted permissions to show you notifications.
Learn more. Google Now for Chrome. This is really nice. If people haven't used Now, this is, well, I guess everybody's.
Now is doing a really good job of seeing the stuff that I read, like articles that I read, and then recommending articles.
So that's a good point. It's a two-way street because now it's seeing your browser.
Yeah. Well, it was doing that on my phone anyway. It was clearly, Google obviously knows a lot of my browsing history if I'm signed into Chrome. So it would say oh hey, you search for The Good Wife, so here's an article about The Good Wife or whatever. On my phone, which when it first started to happen, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And you could say, don't show me this again, or you can do is this card useful? So you can kind of train it.
Nothing location based though, right? Or is it?
Well, no, it definitely does. Google Now does do location based. Like if there's an airline ticket in your email and you arrive at the airport,
I'm seeing the weather. It knows I'm in Petaluma, so yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so it knows you're in Petaluma. Yeah, I've only got a weather card right now. You got a few other cards, but so pretty happy about that. Loving the Google Now.
This is neat.
That's all I got.
And that's the changelog. With a little diversion for Leo's conspiracy theory.
That was good. It's good. I like to talk about the Nexus. I especially wanted to hear what Matt had to say.
Well, you both made very compelling arguments for keeping Nexus alive. So maybe they won't get rid of it.
I'm just happy to see the malware stuff because that's not my team. It's like a sibling team, but I'm so excited to see them. It's like a Seattle Seahawks fan just watching a rout. 29-0. No, I want to see 43-0.
Actually,
it's just like
in that line, Vane. Let me ask you because we heard a couple of weeks ago about 2 Chrome extensions that have been sold to ad guys, and they started popping up ads, overlaying ads on the website. Is that related to the settings thing, or is that something different?
Well, it's of the same basic umbrella. I mean, the thing to remember is, in my opinion, search has your back and Chrome has your back. They care about speed, stability, and security. And Chrome, by auto-update, is able to protect you, and Chrome, by moving the extensions away from third-party toward the web store, are able to protect you. And then the spammers move to like using enterprise policies that businesses usually use, and then they lock that down. And so the next place that the spammers are going to go is just try to do sort of the equivalent of expired domains for web spammers. They buy existing extensions, but that's okay, because then, you know, that's just the next vector, and then we'll respond to that vector.
You just kill those extensions when you see that.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, it's in some sense it's fine to hear about this trend happening, but it's not like the Chrome team is going to let that go. They are going to protect people, and they're going to keep iterating and finding ways to protect people, and that's why I love Chrome. So.
Oh, I'm a big fan.
Chrome's awesome. The permissions model of Chrome, though, like I feel like has a little bit of the Android permissions model problem. I've talked about this on the show before, like about how, I mean, when you make a Chrome extension, often if you want to do kind of almost anything, you have to ask for permission to the person's browser activity across all websites, which seems like very broad permission to ask. But often, you know, I just dabbled a little bit in Chrome extension development, but like that's what you need as a developer to do, you know, what you want to do if you need to do things across websites or on any website. But that kind of, and then when you have the extension sold, that permission, which I just wish was more granular, or if I wish it was just clear to the user, you know, what's happening or what data is getting sent back and forth. I mean, pretty much every extension that I've got installed could be just logging all of my browser activity. Without me knowing, because of kind of the permissions model. And I've had this rant about Android too. I mean, I love Android's permissions model because it's very granular. When you install an app, you get a list of all the things it needs access to. But I often am left wondering, you know, why does this need access to my contacts? Why, you know, and I wish that it was kind of in flow, or that it was a little more sandboxed, or there was just more kind of information about, you know, what's going on behind the scenes. Because, you know, I mean, all of our devices are just always connected, and with broad permissions like that, I feel like those kind of situations where extensions get sold or apps get taken over, and then, you know, bad stuff gets injected, and I just have no idea because, you know, it's installed and running and doing what I need it to do.
It's hard to think of a better solution, though.
It is.
Well, I think Chrome was especially good for, you know, 2009 or so, whenever they started to install extensions, like to give you that transparency. But I think there's also always room to iterate and do a rethink and say, okay, is there some way we could make things more clear? As far as extensions getting sold, I'd rather focus on that specific problem, because usually you are establishing good faith. You're saying, I trust this extension, and you're going to usually keep trusting that extension unless there's some reason to change, like change of ownership. And if you can spot those kinds of transitions, then you can save people from doing a lot of work or stress or mental overhead while protecting the vast majority of people.
You definitely don't want to get too granular on permissions, because people just go, yeah. Yeah,
well, then you have the Windows Vista problem, right? Like, are you sure?
The way iOS does it is what I guess you called that in stream, the idea that it asks you before an application wants location information, and you can give it permanent access then. But iOS can do that only because they don't give you grant blanket permissions. Period. Really, what happens when you install an you never are told what permissions an app has. You trust that Apple wouldn't have approved the app if it was inappropriate.
Yeah, you are sort of depending on their review process, but they've sandboxed certain things, right? Like they sandbox photo access, location access, contacts access. So, like in the
just those three, though.
Using the app, it's just those three. And so things like camera. I mean, I don't know what else.
You see that all the time in iOS. An app will say, can I access your photos or in your camera now? And you say yes, and you can do it permanently or on a one-by-one usually.
Right.
But at that point, I mean, but it doesn't. So there's other things like just recently. What was it? Was it some app just added a huge number of permissions in a very scary way? Was it Evernote?
On Android?
Yeah, Facebook. So the new Facebook app, and I guarantee you nobody noticed this, but I think Google handled it as well as you could do. The new Facebook app on Android, one of the permissions it asked for was the ability to send and receive texts on your behalf and to read all your texts.
Oh, God.
Pretty scary, right? So before I could install it, because it was a changed permission, the Play Store said permissions have changed. You have to read this. And it said new. And it put it right at top. Actually, there were several new ones besides that.
Yeah,
and
the Play Store handles that very well.
I think that's as well as you're going to do it. And Apple doesn't have a place for that.
Right.
That would have just, I don't even know if it happened. It might have happened already on iOS, and we don't know.
Yeah, there's a balance, right, between like simplicity and then obfuscating information. You know what I mean? Like Apple would argue that's a bad user experience, right? To have to like read through a generic list of permissions and decide whether or not you trust Facebook enough to read all your text messages, which is sort of a jarring experience, right? I mean, I would have paused and really think about it. But the other side, the flip side of the coin is that you should know. You should know if an app is looking at your text messages, particularly your text messages. That's pretty personal.
Yeah. But I think it's fair feedback. There's always room to ask ourselves, is there some other better way we could think of to do it? I think that's a fair question to ask.
Facebook did post a page why it's asking for this. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that permissions are clumped. So in order to do one of those things, it has to ask for permissions to do all of them.
Well, that's the other thing. I would like to say, no, you can't have my text messages. You can have everything else, but you can't have those. And
but then that breaks the app.
Well, but you should be able to say, you know, give me all the functionality of the app except for the functionality. I know this puts a lot on developers, and I know there's a whole different thing, but like there's the Facebook app should be able to function. I should be able to read my news feed and send a Facebook message without Facebook having access to my text messages. Like that's not unreasonable.
So the reason they did this, and by the way, it wasn't to send text messages, but merely to read incoming text messages. The reason they added this is so that when they're confirming the phone number, you know, you enter in the phone number, they confirm it. You don't have to wait for you to see the text message and enter the number. It can all happen automatically, right? So that's reasonable.
It is?
So it's funny. So WhatsApp does it that way. When you give WhatsApp your phone number, it just goes, okay, got it. And you know, you wait a little bit. What's really happening is a text message is being sent, received, and deleted, I think. Facebook, you had to see the text message, see the 6-digit number, enter it in, and now you've got a confirmation code.
And from that point on, they don't need access to your text messages, but they have access to your text messages.
This is what Facebook's saying.
Yeah.
Another one another one, download files without notification. That's risky, but they say, well, this is how we can preload newsfeed content this way.
Preloading newsfeed content, right? And they also do the updates themselves, right? They push their own
we can push updates.
App updates.
They don't mention that, but yes. Write your contacts. This allows us to import your contacts to Facebook and to sync Facebook contacts. So
yeah, I mean, it's
you know what? You said the word trust. Was it you or Matt? It was Matt. Ultimately, it comes down to, do I trust this app? Then I'm going to give it these permissions.
Well, yeah, and trust matters, because if Google or Apple or whoever don't handle these things well, then people lose trust in us. And so, and that was the funniest thing about the Chrome extension kerfluffle, because I think a lot of people said, oh, Google is somehow looking the other way. No, it's just hard to be aware of all the different attack vectors and police all the different bad actors. But the Chrome guys take this, the Chrome team takes this very seriously.
I thought you would take action, because I thought it seemed like, yes, I didn't look like it was something done on purpose. It was a new vector, a new attack vector. And it is a flaw, because I have to approve you have to approve the extension to get it on the store, but you don't have to approve updates. So a malicious update can be added to a non-malicious extension after the fact.
Right. And this is so it is about trust, but it's also about control, right? Like, so the platforms have to build in ways for users to be able to control, you know, to say you can have access to my text messages for the next 10 minutes, and after that, then you can't. And
that would be better. That
this creates like a lot of UI and could also, you know, be tedious and maybe, you know, you're risking going Windows Vista, but there's trust, and then there's also control. And I think that there has to be a balance, right? Like, and part of that's on Android to give users the ability to deny, you know, certain permissions. Part of it's on developers to be clearer in their communication. I mean, if Facebook needs access to all my text messages forever and ever, just so they can read one text message when they're setting up my phone, like, that seems crazy to me. Like that.
Well, that's what they have. Do you have Facebook on your Android device?
I do, but I'm going to uninstall it after this conversation.
Because if you updated it in the last couple of weeks, that's what happened.
You know, I don't use the native messaging app. Like, I use Google Voice.
It wasn't messaging. It was the Facebook app.
Oh, right. But when they're asking for access to my text messages, they're asking for access to my native messaging text messages. You know what I mean? I don't text that way, so that they actually wouldn't be getting. You know, Google owns all my text messages, so you know, I decided to trust them.
See, you gotta trust somebody.
I co-host This Week in Google.
Yeah. So let me just look at the Facebook because it was just updated. Description. I guess you can't go back and look at. There must be somewhere I could see the permissions that I've granted to this app. That is available.
It's under App Info in the setting.
Okay. So you can go back and look at Gina, and you actually probably approved it.
I probably did.
Didn't look at it.
I think when Facebook, at one point in Facebook's changes to privacy, they got better about telling you what you were doing at the moment you did it. You're sharing this with blank. And I think it's not always workable, but it's not a bad way to do it. That at the moment you're taking an action, if there is a choice involved, give you the choice then, unless it becomes too wearing and you are tired of choice.
Then. Yeah.
Or let me say, don't ask me again. Right. Let me understand in the context of what I'm doing. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a huge challenge, particularly on mobile, to give that kind of information. I mean, you're creating more friction, right? Like frictionless sharing. That adds friction to sharing. You know, reading, seeing the thing. Just like the new permissions dialogue. You're like, oh wait, but there's a balance. There's a balance between control and being informed, and also having an easy experience on a tiny touchscreen with your thumb. You know.
So, by the way, I've also apparently, I didn't know this, given the Facebook app to directly call phone numbers. It can call phone numbers. It can read my text messages. It can take pictures and video, record audio, location. It does, so yeah, you're right, Chad. If you go into the apps interface, you can read all the, or was it Chad or Jason that said that? You can read all the stuff.
Yeah, that's the app info, and a quick way to get to it is from your launcher. If you're in the thing, you can click and hold, and instead of uninstall, just drag over to app info if you're on KitKat or something similar.
So I'm curious, Gina, if you actually gave it permission and just weren't paying attention, which just shows that the mechanism's broken. Because you're a smart person.
At some point, I enabled Android to automatically update my apps, but it doesn't automatically update if there are new permissions.
That's right. This is one where it would have said, Facebook can't be automatically updated unless you say yes.
But that's via the Play Store, and Facebook's app updates happen in app, right?
No, this was this one. And of course, you can't do an update that changes capabilities without asking permission.
Right.
I think that's right.
Because those are intents, right? You have to have OS level permission to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't just say, no, I changed my mind. I want to read text messages.
Yeah.
And it seems like maybe Facebook wanted to do it that way, and we said, no, all updates that require new permissions have to go through the store or something like that.
Yeah. Hey, Chromecast is now open to developers. I don't know what this means. Gina will explain.
Woohoo.
The Google Cast software development kit for developers who want to build Chromecast support has been released as of Monday. You still have to get permission from Google, though, right? Or no? What I want is that I can write an app right now that works with my Chromecast.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just porn is prohibited, so I guess they find a way to kill that.
Why would you prohibit porn? Who cares?
I know.
Wait a minute. Come on.
Yeah.
Who cares? I downloaded a porn app, and I want to send it to my porn Chromecast. That's me.
In your lonely apartment sitting there in your
porn
skivvies.
Is not illegal.
You bought the device.
Yeah. So, no, they can't. Really? They're blocking porn?
I actually, I don't know whether they require permission now, but I think the big step here is the SDK is available for everyone to start to use. So I don't know whether there's still one gating factor beyond that.
I think because we haven't seen a flood of new apps, there must still be the issue of you then have to be approved.
The terms of service, developers have to agree in order to make their apps Chromecast compatible. One of the conditions, explicit content is a no-go, says GigaOM.
Oh, stop it. Come on.
We don't allow content. No, get this, right? So this would actually get rid of HBO. We don't allow content that contains nudity.
That's Game of Thrones.
Graphic sex acts or sexually explicit material.
That's Game of Thrones.
That's cable.
That's Cinemax.
They might also be.
HBO Go is Chromecast enabled, though, so maybe it has.
Maybe people don't want Chromecast to be known as Porncast in the beginning or something.
Yeah, maybe they'll lighten up later on. I mean, this is the whole Steve Jobs thing. You can't do porn on iOS. But I got to point out, porn is not illegal in the United States.
Right.
And if it's adults downloading, porntube.com app, and why should Google get involved
Google doesn't
there?
have to promote it. It doesn't have to list it among apps that you can do. But if somebody wants to enable the Chrome button in their app.
But that's a side light. What I really want is that the Twit apps, and we don't develop our own app, but there are a number of people who do, can be enabled for Chromecast. And I suspect that that's still, we're getting closer.
Yeah.
And
I think the Chromecast, there was a person who had like reversed engineered the API.
Kosh,
yeah.
Yeah. And I think people sort of said, well, look, we're still working actively on the API and getting the SDK. So now if the SDK is actually released, I mean, if you own the device, you could, in theory, if it's frozen in stone at a 1.0, in theory, somebody could reverse engineer.
Oh, that's his app, Allcast. So now it works again. So Kaushik Dutta immediately went back, fixed it, and it works.
Oh, that's great news.
He was upset because he had used a non-approved kind of hack around. Google disabled it, probably not, and I think he even agreed, not aimed at him, but just, it was never approved. It was deprecated, and it broke Allcast. So Allcast is working now. That's good.
Very cool.
By the way, you can stream your porn with Allcast. Or
right, because it's from your device, right?
Oh my God, Leo is going to have his porn on the big screen.
Damn it!
If it kills him.
I don't care if it's 340p.
How big is that curved screen of yours, Leo? How big is it?
Well, and there's something, I think Plex also works. So at the point where you can stream whatever your own content is.
It's probably one of those things where, we just want to make sure that it's...
We say it.
Yeah, we say it. We don't have to enforce it.
Gigantic sexual organs. Google brings you gigantic sexual organs, yes.
That's a double standard, because if it were your gigantic sexual organ, you wouldn't mind so much. It's just other people's you don't want to see.
Exactly.
I've because we haven't moved in our new place yet, I've been in transit and staying with different relatives and Airbnb and the whole thing, and the Chromecast is so small and so easy. Like I've just had it in my backpack. So that's been my primary media center basically for over a month now.
Isn't it great?
And I just absolutely love it. It's so easy to set up. And I've often wanted to, I come home at night and be like, oh, I want to show, pictures of the baby to my, my mom. I just want to throw those photos up on the TV without having to show her on the phone. And so I'm really excited about this. This is really good. I'm down. I've installed Allcast right now because sending up my personal media is definitely something I wanted to
One thing I would like to see, and it's ridiculous because it's a $35 device. I wish it supported 5 gigahertz as well as 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And that's mostly because I use a Sonos, which is on 2.4, and basically I cannot use 2.4 because we have Sonos all over the house. I can't use 2.4. It's just not reliable in my house. So I use 5G for everything. The 5 gigahertz band, and it would be nice if the Chromecast doesn't work so well in the distant reaches of the house.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's great.
I was this close to buying a new TV so I could use it better with my Chromecast because Chromecast actually supports CEC, so you can switch channels without fiddling with your input source. And I've got an ancient TV that doesn't handle that well, and so
I was about to do the same thing, Matt, because I have one TV that only has one HDMI.
The $35 dongle that's going to cost you $4 grand.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they stopped making the Panasonic ST60, and now I'm like, okay, I'll wait a few.
Get it while you can. If you could find anybody who's still selling it, get it.
Yeah, Amazon and Best Buy have stopped.
They've stopped. Oh, that kills me. That's a great TV.
I have plugged my Chromecast into many TVs in the past 6 weeks, and I have yet to find one that powers it. Like I have to plug it in every time.
Yeah, I don't think it's MHL. I don't think it does power. I have an MHL port. I know an MHL port, and it didn't work. You still have to plug the little USB thing. That's another, there's little things you can improve.
I thought it could take power from the HDMI.
Well, if it needs to be MHL. If it's MHL and it's an MHL port.
Yeah, only in that case, yeah.
But I think it's not because I tried it on my MHL. It didn't power it. I'll try it again. Maybe I just missed something. But, many TVs now have USB ports. So you just plug the...
Oh, right. So you can just plug in the... Oh, yeah. No, that's smart. That's way smarter because that's the only bad part of the experience. It's like, oh, where's the plug? Because, behind the entertainment center is always just this massive, unavailable, outlets. So it's always a pain plugging in.
That's why we all think of the television as the $4,000 dongle for Chromecast. That's the right. Now you've got your priorities straight. CEC is really cool. It works very well with the Chromecast if you have a properly implemented CEC. Actually, I think the Vieras are a little funky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm using it. It works great on a Samsung device. CEC is funny.
Yeah.
That's
everybody has a different name for it.
And, Samsung calls it Any Share or something like that. Standards. Twitter results out. Twitter crushes, says TechCrunch, with fourth quarter revenue of $242 million. I don't know. When you're talking profits, Apple profits of $13 billion, Google profits of what, $3 or $4 billion. Revenue of
Leo, give him credit. I was not that long ago when I made fun of Fred Wilson, and many of us did, saying there was no discernible Twitter business model. So Dick Costolo has
I agree.
brought it in. He's got real revenue.
Yep.
It's a start. The stock went down after that result because of the supposed user growth issue, but there is a path visible now for Twitter, which just wasn't at the beginning.
Earnings per share of 2 cents. Analysts had thought they would lose 2 cents. Nick Bilton said an interesting thing when he was on our Triangulation show. He's the author of Hatching Twitter, probably now knows more about Twitter than any human alive. He said they completely have the dials to how much profit they make. That's up to them. They tweak it.
But that also, the trade-off is how much you piss off your users.
Yes.
Well, even more than that, how much they reinvest. I mean, they have control of they've got the revenue. That's the point.
Yep.
And how much profit they make on $242 million in revenue is up to them. They could be 5%, 10%, 0%. And so they decide to make a little bit of profit. Not a lot, just a little bit of profit. They can't control user growth, and I think that's why stock market maybe a little bit. So what happened with user growth? It slowed. They still grew, but the growth slowed.
Yeah. And Gina, using ThinkUp, it's been really interesting because, it shows you the people who follow you, and it has this notion of like the people who are kind of interesting or important. And it's a little scary because whenever I check these people out, I'm like, oh, that's 30,000 fake followers this guy has. Like,
oh no, that's not good.
Well,
that means our algorithm.
ThinkUp should not make you insecure.
Well, hopefully, ideally, Twitter wouldn't let these guys have 30,000 followers in the first place, but yeah, but maybe it's more me in the area that I play around in. Like me and Danny Sullivan, we probably have a lot of fake followers. But
oh yeah, you probably do, right? Because you talk about.
Oh, I would follow him if I were a spammer. I'd be following Matt for sure.
Yeah,
well, and bots. Like there's this Michelle Mary, and ThinkUp's like they've got 30,000 followers, and I'm like, that is pure auto-generated spam.
Yeah,
like there is.
You recognize it, don't you? You could see spam in your sleep.
I was going to say, you smell it from a mile away.
Well, so and to be fair, the ad is for cashforyourightnow.com. I mean, it shouldn't be hard to spot these guys' fake. So
it is embarrassing where cashforyou.com has more followers than you do.
But I mean, Hatching Twitter was such a good book, and I had no idea what
isn't that a
how
story?
Much was going on
it's amazing.
Under the hood. And it's a real testament to Twitter that they've built something so important, given that there's been a lot of shift and tectonic shifts, within the company and outside, of course.
If I may be so bold, I think we have Gina's out coming as mine as well. So
let's go. Let's wrap it up. All right, we got all the important stuff.
We got the good stories.
Hashtags mentioned 57% of Super Bowl ads, according to Danny Sullivan and his daughter, who counted. That was a very scientific method. Calendar, Google Calendar now lets you subscribe to holidays for 30 different cultures, up from 12 or whatever. Google goes to war on fraudulent YouTube video views.
Get them.
That's like the you're rooting for the Seahawks again. Yeah.
Yeah. Route.
And by the way, while you're at it, Matt, get rid of those darned Google Plus comment spammers. They're back.
Are they?
Likers. Somebody will like 20 posts.
That's a signal.
I will pass that on.
That's a signal.
I'm talking to a guy on Monday who will help with that.
YouTube,
Thank you.
$1 billion in music payouts. Still, some labels are unhappy. And Flappy Bird. That's all I have to say. Just 2 words. Flappy Bird. It's iOS, though, so you...
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking
Just kidding. No, I do. I know.
How can you
All
not?
I know is that it's a popular game.
It's on Android.
Is it on Android?
Oh, is it? It's
I
on
wish you
Android?
hadn't told me that, Chad.
Yeah, I wish
No.
the same.
You know me and my Nexus 5, right?
Our show today brought to you by 99 Designs. My friends, if you are good at something that is not design, you know, maybe you're a great chef, you're a wonderful storyteller, you're a programmer. And why is it that people who have great skills in one area think they can be designers? Design is an art. Design is literally an art. There's something to it. You're either good at it or not. And you see so many ill-designed, poorly designed, you know, ads, menus, web pages. Go to 99designs.com and get a great design from really, really good designers. 270,000 designers at last count at 99designs.com. 99designs.com. Whether you're looking for a new logo, don't do your own logo. That's just not right. Responsive website, stationery, T-shirt. There's a designer at 99 Designs that can bring your designs to life. Wouldn't it be cool if you could start your next project and have dozens of designers to choose from? Just a few days later, you can. Selection, speed, creativity, a few of the benefits from having several designers work on your design project instead of just one. When you launch a design contest, that's what they call them, you'll get lots of creative ideas. Give the designers feedback. End up with the perfect design within a week. The process is fun, fast, 100% satisfaction guaranteed, and affordable. You can start your next graphic design project for as low as $199. And when you go to 99designs.com/twig, you will get a $99 power pack of savings free. That gives you more designer time and attention. 99 Designs will bold, highlight, and feature your project in their marketplace. You will get nearly twice as many designs. Have we started the design T-shirt design contest yet? Because we have 5 really nice designs. Actually, it's for a hoodie, a Twit hoodie we're going to sell.
I've been waiting for a hoodie. It's great.
Yeah.
The
And we get
look good.
Oh, did you see it? Yeah, it's on. We did it on Google Plus. I think we put up this. Lisa put it up. Anyway, great designs we got from all the designers. We picked 5. We're going to have a showdown. It's so fun. And it's good. Help the world look better. One design at a time. 99designs.com/twig. Get that power pack of savings worth $99 for free. We thank them for their support. I think that's the one that's winning right now. Now, it's on a T-shirt, but it would be on a hoodie. I really like this one.
That's nice. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Lisa says that's too simple. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Little retro design.
Cool. That's retro.
These are all from 99 Designs. I love this. This is kind of steampunky. Isn't that great?
That's really cute.
Yeah.
Steampunkers scare me.
We couldn't pick just one. We just went crazy. There's a graffiti style design.
Oh, that's cool.
These are all from designers at 99 Designs. And we're going to pick one, and we're going to sell that hoodie on, I think, next month on Teespring. 99designs.com. It is time for Gina Trapani's Tip of the Week.
So, okay, this tip is kind of nerdy, but it's kind of amazing. So I had to share it. This is a blog post by Mihai Parparita, who actually I think is currently a Googler. I know at some point he was on the Google Reader team, and he did a post. Matt, do you know if Mihai's still at Google? Yeah,
I think Mihai has actually left, but yeah, he was on the Google Reader team. He's a fantastic dude.
Mihai has left the building.
He's amazing. He like published all these Grease Monkey scripts, and I mean he's really great coder, writer, always great at sharing a code. And he wrote this post about these internal system Gmail labels. He actually kind of reversed, or he didn't hack, but he watched requests back and forth to Gmail over the line to see how users would mark messages certain ways, if they were muting conversations or marking them as spam. Because Google had that bug where for a very small percentage of users, messages that shouldn't have gotten marked as spam did or wound up in the trash, and they said, hey, you should check to make sure, just take a look through your spam folder and make sure that everything there is legitimately spam, because we did have this bug and it's been fixed, but check it out. So Mihai found these internal system labels that you can use to search your Gmail. So he published he published a little search query that you can use inside Gmail to say, show me all the messages that are spam, which I explicitly marked as spam, and it's using one of these kind of system labels. So the search is :spam, which is a normal regular user search, minus label : and this internal system label is a $OS. So you're basically saying, show me all the spam that Google didn't mark automatically. Show me just the spam messages which I marked. Which comes in really useful if you fat fingered something, if you accidentally feel like you marked a legitimate message as spam, you can go back and see them without having to go through all your spam messages.
I do that all the time. I go accidentally click it and I go, oh shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel bad.
And if you're interested in how Gmail works, this post is really kind of amazing, especially that he's not Google anymore. I mean, he obviously knows how some of like Google's web services work, but he writes in detail how he kind of figured out what all these hidden system labels are, and there are quite a few of them. Wow. You can say, show me all the messages which I've muted, show me all the messages that were marked as phishing attempts, show me all my chat transcripts, and a lot of these are exposed as regular search terms, for users, but some of them actually, some of them aren't. So you show me all my, Google Voice messages, show me all the messages which have the option for Gmail to unsubscribe me from them. So really, really cool stuff here if you're interested in how Gmail works and being a total search ninja.
Secret menu.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Pretty cool.
Wow.
Really good find. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how Gmail smart labels work. Some really just good stuff here.
Nice. Good tip. Thank you, Gina. That's worthy of Lifehacker. That's fabulous.
Yeah, that's got Lifehacker written all over it for sure.
Jeff, do you have a number of the week this week?
Yes, I do. Real quick, it's a fun post. If you go to it in the rundown, the Google's first server bill from Urs Herze. I'm sorry, I got to do this fast because I got to go.
Yeah.
Who was employee number 9, I think, put up the first server bill, and a extra megabit cost $1,400.
Wow.
And look at it later.
It's expensive.
Sergey adds into the discussion with a few of very, very nerdy points.
Really? In the comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Fabulous.
does. He shows up and he's like, the C machine stood for crawl, and so we skipped the B rack and just named them A and then C and all this.
Oh, this is so. Thank you, Sergey. That is awesome.
And I apologize, but I've got to run.
See you both.
Gina does too.
Yeah,
so.
Take care.
I do too. Thanks
all right.
a lot, Matt. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Really good show as
Take
usual.
care.
Take care. See you next week. Thanks,
Matt
guys.
has a tip for all you webmasters out there. In fact, if you don't see Matt's webmaster videos on YouTube, you gots to. They're a requirement.
Yeah. If you're an SEO, it might be worth your time. So I did a post on my personal blog last week that basically just said, look, guest blogging has gotten out of control in terms of for SEO purposes. So if a random guy writes you out of the blue and says, hey, I'd like to do a guest post, you should be suspicious. You should be especially suspicious if they offer you money or something like that, because at this point it's gotten to be really, really spammy. And so we just wanted to telegraph that so that people know to be on guard and be a little bit cautious. We've been taking action on some pretty large link networks and some pretty large websites across the web that have been using or abusing these types of techniques. So
Excellent.
If you get a random email solicitation, be skeptical about that. If it's Leo Laporte and he wants to do a guest podcast, of course, that's the sort of thing you want. But if it's just someone you've never heard of, there's spelling errors in the email, just be pretty suspicious of that.
What's the YouTube channel where your webmaster videos are?
I forget, but if you search for webmaster videos, it ranks #1 in Google.
What a surprise!
Yeah, it ranks organically. No worries about that. So it's youtube.com/user/Google Webmaster Help. But I always search for webmaster videos.
Yeah, that's easier. Matt Cutts is, in fact, according to Adam Curry, the most powerful man in the world. Simply by his role at Google.
Or most hated. We'll see.
Always great to have you on. Thank you, Matt. We'll let you go too.
Okay, thanks very much.
My tool of the week, Flappy Bird. Flappy Bird. I knew it was on Android all along. In fact, I'd already installed it. I just was trying to forget. Do not install this app on anything you have. It is the most. It is totally viral. I cannot figure out why, because it's really hard to play. Who's the Flappy Bird record holder at the Brick House? I think it's Josh. He's got like 40. Yeah. How many? The idea is you're flapping this bird to get him. Oh, crap. Get him through the holes. That's it. That's all there is to it. And I don't know why it's so addictive, but it is. It is literally #1 in like 20 different app stores. Yeah, always go from below. I noticed that. Stay low is the tip.
I feel like you have saved me 4 hours now, Leo, because I've seen enough where I don't have to install it.
Yeah, I'm doing you a favor. If this makes you want to play this game, you should just go hide. Because this is the most frustrating game ever, and yet it is absolutely viral. Flappy Bird! Matt Cutts, thank you so much. You rock. Most powerful man in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Also most humble.
You've got the votes, Leo.
It's a good combination, humble and powerful. Nice to see you, Matt. Thank you. Thanks to Gina Trapani of ThinkUp. Go to thinkup.com. Take a look at it. It's really great. I think it's opening to the public very soon, but it will take your Facebook and your Twitter accounts and mung it and give you lots of information. I don't know. Does Einstalkenganger, Foret og Opar, and Followen sound like good descriptions of Leo Laporte? Apparently, I'm on lists with that name. Who followed you? Your most popular tweets, what you tweeted in years gone by. And there's new stuff all the time. It's really great. ThinkUp.com, and it is, I think you'll be able to get an account soon. Gina's opening that up. You can also follow her on Twitter at Gina Trapani, of course, on Google Plus as well. Jeff Jarvis is a professor of journalism at the City University of New York. He's also the author of Public Parts, a great book, What Would Google Do? And we do This Week in Google each and every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2100 UTC. Please stop by. We love it when you're watching. The chat room is a great way for you to interact with us. We obviously pay attention and even refer to the chat room quite frequently. But if you can't watch live, you can get the on-demand audio or video. Download it from twit.tv/twig or wherever podcasts are aggregated, including iTunes, Stitcher, all alike. The Android, the Google, what do they call it? The Google Music Store, Play Music, and all Dogcatcher, all the other podcast clients. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.